Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the large window of his ship's control room. He watched the stars twinkle in the darkness of space. His ship, the Liberty's Edge, was the biggest and most important ship in Earth's defense fleet. Today was special. Today, aliens were coming to visit Earth for the first time. Jake had been in the military for 30 years. He had seen many battles and commanded many ships. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. The aliens had sent messages to Earth 6 months ago. They called themselves the Zentharian Empire. They said they wanted to meet humans and talk about joining something called the Galactic Council. "Admiral, we have movement near Jupiter," said Lieutenant Sophie Barnes. She was the young woman who handled all the communication on the ship. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the excitement in it. 3 ships just appeared out of nowhere. Jake turned away from the window and walked to the main control panel. The screen showed 3 strange ships floating near Jupiter's moons. The ships looked nothing like human vessels. They were long and thin, with smooth curves and no sharp edges. They seemed to glow with a soft blue light. "Send them the welcome message we prepared," Jake said. "Use the translation system they gave us." Sophie pressed several buttons on her control panel. The alien translation device hummed quietly. It was a small box that the aliens had sent to Earth months ago. Human scientists had studied it carefully and built copies of it. Now humans could talk to aliens for the first time. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force ship Liberty's Edge." Sophie spoke into her microphone. "We welcome you to our solar system. Please respond when ready." The response came quickly. A strange voice filled the control room. It sounded like wind blowing through metal pipes, but the translation device changed it into clear English words. "Greetings, Admiral Morrison. I am Commander Kethva of the Zentharian Imperial Scout Fleet. We are honored to make contact with your species. We request permission to approach your planet for official business." Jake nodded to Sophie. "Tell them they have permission to come closer. Ask them what they need from us." The alien voice spoke again after a few moments. "We are here to conduct a standard military review. All species who wish to join the Galactic Council must show their military strength. This is normal procedure. We will observe your defense forces and report to the Council leaders." Captain Ben Rodriguez looked up from his tactical station. He was Jake's second in command and handled all the weapons and defense systems. "Admiral, they want to see our military. What should we show them?" Jake thought for a moment. He had been told by Earth's leaders to cooperate with the aliens. The Galactic Council sounded like something important, and Earth wanted to be part of it. "Tell them we will be happy to show them our forces. Ask them what they want to see." The alien commander's voice came through the speakers again. "We would like to observe your planetary defense fleet and ground forces. We expect this will take 1 day, perhaps 2. Most worlds have simple defense systems. We are sure this will be quick and easy." Jake smiled. The aliens thought Earth had simple defenses. They were about to learn something new about humans. "Sophie, contact General Lisa Carter at Earth Command. Tell her we need to organize a military demonstration for our alien visitors." "Yes, sir," Sophie said. She began sending messages to Earth immediately. Meanwhile, in the alien ships near Jupiter, Commander Kethva was talking to his crew. The Zentharians looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was pale blue and they had large black eyes. They wore simple white uniforms with silver decorations. "This should be routine," Kethva said to his second officer, Scout Leader Vextar. "These humans have only been in space for a short time. Their military will be small and basic. We will observe a few ships and some ground troops, write our report, and move on to the next world." Vextar nodded. "Yes, Commander. I have reviewed the information about this species. They only reached their own moon 200 years ago. They barely have any presence beyond their homeworld. This will be the easiest evaluation we have done this year." Sub-Commander Zethik, the youngest member of the crew, was monitoring human communications. "Commander, I am detecting many radio signals between the human ships and their planet. They seem to be organizing something." "Of course they are," Kethva said with a laugh. "They probably need time to gather their few defense ships. Most primitive species have trouble organizing even small demonstrations. We will wait patiently for them." Back on the Liberty's edge, General Lisa Carter appeared on the main communication screen. She was a serious woman in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore the uniform of Earth's Unified Military Command. "Admiral Morrison," she said, "I received your message about the alien military review. How big of a demonstration do they want to see?" "They said they want to observe our planetary defense forces and ground troops," Jake replied. "They seem to think it will be quick and easy. I get the feeling they expect us to have very little to show them." Lisa smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Really? They think we have very little to show them? How much time do we have to prepare?" "They said 1 or 2 days should be enough." "Perfect, I'll start making calls. We'll give them a demonstration they won't forget." Lisa's smile grew wider. "I'll contact all the regional commands. Mars base will want to participate, and I'm sure the asteroid mining security forces will be interested too." "The mining security forces?" Jake asked. "Admiral, you've been in deep space for too long. The mining companies have built up quite impressive security fleets over the past few years. Pirates and raiders have been a problem in the asteroid belt. The miners don't just dig rocks anymore, they fight wars out there." Jake felt a small thrill of excitement. "How long will it take to organize everything?" "Give me 18 hours, Lisa said. "I'll have Colonel Ryan Bell coordinate with the North American forces, and Major Kate Foster will handle the colonial units. This is going to be interesting." The communication ended, and Jake turned to Ben. "Contact all Earth defense force ships in the system. Tell them to prepare for a full military review. I want every ship we have available." "All of them, sir?" Ben asked. "That's a lot of ships." "The aliens want to see our military strength," Jake said. "Let's show them what humans can do." Sophie looked up from her communication station. "Admiral, I'm getting responses from our ships all over the system. The Mars Patrol wants to know if they should bring the colonial marine units. The Jupiter Research Station is asking if their security ships should participate. And there's a message from the Outer System Survey Fleet. They want to know if they should return from the edge of the solar system." Jake paused. He had not realized how many human ships were scattered throughout the solar system. In the past 50 years, humans had built bases and stations everywhere. Each base had its own defense ships. Each colony had its own security forces. Each mining operation had its own armed vessels. "Tell them all to participate," Jake said slowly. "If the aliens want to see our military, they should see all of it." On the alien ship, Sub-Commander Zethic was becoming confused. "Commander, the humans are sending messages to many different locations. They seem to be contacting places all over their solar system." Commander Kethva frowned. "All over their solar system? That's unusual. Most species barely have a presence. Beyond their homeworld when they first contact us. Are you sure you're reading the signals correctly?" "Yes, sir. They're talking to something called Mars Base, Jupiter Research Station, Saturn Industrial Complex, and many other locations. They seem to have people living in many places." Kethva felt the first small touch of unease. "Keep monitoring their communications. This species might be more advanced than we thought." The stage was set. The aliens expected to see a small, simple, military demonstration. The humans were preparing to show them something completely different. Neither side fully understood what was about to happen, but the galaxy was about to learn something new about the human race. General Lisa Carter sat in her office at Earth Command headquarters. The walls were covered with screens showing military bases all over the solar system. She had been making calls for 3 hours now, and each call made her smile grow bigger. The aliens wanted to see human military strength. They were about to get much more than they bargained for. Colonel Ryan Bell reporting, "General," came a voice from one of the screens. Ryan was the commander of all North American Space Forces. He was a tall man with brown hair and serious eyes. "All our ships are ready for the demonstration. We have 200 vessels standing by." "Good work, Ryan," Lisa said. "What about the ground forces? We can have 50,000 troops ready for review within 12 hours. The Space Marines are particularly excited. They haven't had a chance to show off their new equipment yet." Lisa nodded and switched to another screen. "Major Kate Foster, what's the status of the colonial forces?" Kate appeared on screen. She was a young woman with red hair who commanded the colonial marine units. She was currently on Mars Base Alpha, the largest human military installation outside of Earth. General, the Colonial Marines are ready to participate. We have units on Mars, the Moon, Europa, Titan, and several asteroid mining stations. Total personnel count is about 75,000 troops. Excellent. What about space vessels? The Colonial Fleet has 300 combat-ready ships. Most are patrol vessels and transport ships, but we also have some heavy cruisers for dealing with pirates in the outer system. Lisa felt a warm feeling of pride. The colonial forces had grown much larger than she had expected. Contact Captain Alex Turner at Mars Base Alpha. Tell him to prepare his people for inspection. On Mars Base Alpha, Captain Alex Turner was already busy organizing his troops. The base was built inside a large crater on the Martian surface. It housed 15,000 Marines and their families. The base had its own shipyard, training facilities, and defense systems. Sergeant Jim Foster, Alex called to his second-in-command, "Get all companies ready for review. Full dress uniforms and equipment inspection. I want our people to look perfect." "Yes, sir," Jim replied. "Should we include the new recruits who just finished training?" "Include everyone. The aliens want to see our military, so let's show them what human Marines look like." Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, Commander Nina Walsh was coordinating with the mining security forces. Nina commanded the Belt Patrol, a group of ships that protected the mining operations from pirates and raiders. She was talking to the mining company representatives through her communication system. "Mr. Paul Davis from Asteroid Mining Corporation," she said to one of the screens. "Can your security forces participate in the military demonstration?" Paul was an older man who had spent most of his life in the asteroid belt. His company owned dozens of mining stations and employed thousands of workers. "Commander Walsh, our security fleet would be honored to participate. We have 150 armed vessels protecting our operations. Most are converted mining ships, but they pack serious firepower." "What about personnel?" "We have about 20,000 security officers spread across our facilities. They're not military trained, but they know how to fight. Pirates have been a problem out here for years." Nina was impressed. She had not realized how large the mining security forces had become. "Contact the other mining companies. If they want to participate, include them in the count." Admiral Pete Harrison was in charge of the Outer System Patrol. His ships operated beyond Saturn, exploring new areas and watching for threats from deep space. He was currently near Pluto when he received the message about the alien demonstration. "Lieutenant Carol Reed," he called to his communication officer, "send a message to all deep space units. Tell them to return to the inner system for a military review." "Sir, that's 47 ships spread across the outer system. It will take some time for them all to return." "How long?" "About 16 hours. For the farthest units, sir." Pete thought for a moment. "Tell them to move as fast as they can. This is important." Back on Earth, General Lisa was receiving reports from all over the solar system. Each report made her more amazed at how large human military forces had become. She had never seen all the numbers added together before. Colonel Sarah Martinez from the European Space Defense Corps reported in. "General, we have 180 ships ready for demonstration. Our ground forces number 38,000 troops." General Rick Davis from the Pacific Fleet added his numbers. "The Pacific Defense Force can provide 220 ships and 42,000 personnel." Captain Tony Lee from the Asian Defense Consortium gave his report. 190 ships, 35,000 troops ready for inspection. Major Beth Cooper from the African Union Military reported last. "We have 150 ships and 28,000 ground forces standing by." Lisa looked at her notes. The numbers were growing larger than she had ever imagined. Earth's defense forces alone had over 900 ships and almost 200,000 troops. And that was just the beginning. The colonial forces added another 300 ships and 75,000 troops. The mining security forces contributed 150 ships and 20,000 personnel. The Outer System Patrol was bringing 47 more ships with about 8,000 crew members, but there were more forces that Lisa had not even counted yet. The Merchant Marine had ships that could be converted for military use. The research stations had their own security teams. The space construction companies had workships that carried weapons for protection against pirates. On the Liberty's edge, Admiral Jake Morrison was watching the reports come in. His communication officer, Lieutenant Sophie Barnes, was having trouble keeping track of all the incoming messages. "Admiral," Sophie said, "I'm getting responses from places I didn't even know we had military units. There's a message from the Europa research base. They want to send their security team. The Titan industrial complex is asking if their defense ships should participate. Even the deep space communication relay stations are offering to send their guard units." Captain Ben Rodriguez looked up from his tactical display. "Sir, I'm tracking ship movements all over the system. It looks like every human military unit is heading toward Earth orbit. I've never seen so many ships moving at once." Jake felt a mixture of excitement and concern. "How many ships are we talking about?" Ben checked his display again. "Current count is over 1,500 vessels, sir, and more are still reporting in." 1,500 ships? Jake could hardly believe it. "Yes, sir. And that's not counting the civilian vessels that have military capabilities. The cargo ships, the passenger liners, the construction vessels. Many of them carry weapons for protection." On the alien ships near Jupiter, the Xantharian scouts were becoming very confused. Sub-Commander Zethic was monitoring human communications and could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Commander Kethva," he said in a worried voice, "the humans are mobilizing forces from across their entire solar system. They seem to have military units on every planet and moon." Commander Kethva frowned. "That's impossible. New species don't have that kind of military presence. Are you sure you're reading the signals correctly?" "Yes, sir. They're talking about hundreds of ships and hundreds of thousands of troops. They have bases on Mars, Europa, Titan, in the asteroid belt, and even in the outer system beyond Saturn." Scout Leader Vextar joined the conversation. "Commander, I've been analyzing their ship movements. They have vessels coming from all directions. Some are traveling from the very edge of their solar system." Kethva felt a cold chill run through his body. "How many ships are moving?" "Current estimate is over 1,000 vessels, sir, and the number keeps growing." The three Xantharians looked at each other in growing alarm. This was not what they had expected. Most species had maybe 50 or 100 military ships when they first contacted the Galactic Council. The humans seemed to have 10 times that number, maybe more. "Commander," Zethic said quietly, "what if we made a mistake? What if this species is not as primitive as we thought?" Kethva did not answer. Immediately, he was thinking about his orders from the Galactic Council. He was supposed to conduct a routine evaluation of a small new military force. Instead, he was watching the mobilization of what looked like a massive war fleet. "Keep monitoring their communications," he finally said. "We need to understand what we're dealing with here." On Earth, General Lisa Carter was finishing her preparations. She looked at the final numbers on her desk and shook her head in amazement. In less than 18 hours, humans had mobilized over 1,600 ships and more than 300,000 military personnel from across the solar system. And this was just the active duty forces. The reserves, the planetary militias, and the civilian vessels with military capabilities would add thousands more ships and millions more people to the count. Lisa picked up her communication device and called Admiral Morrison. "Jake, we're ready for the demonstration. I hope our alien visitors are prepared for what they're about to see." The stage was set for the greatest military demonstration in human history. The aliens expected to see a small planetary defense force. Instead, they were about to witness the true scope of human military power spread across an entire solar system. 20 hours had passed since the aliens first arrived. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty's edge and watched something he had never seen before in his 30 years of military service. The space around Earth was filled with ships. Hundreds and hundreds of human vessels were arriving from every direction. "Admiral," Lieutenant Sophie Barnes said, her voice filled with amazement, "we now have over 2,000 ships in Earth orbit. More are still arriving." Jake looked at the main display screen. It showed thousands of tiny lights moving in organized patterns around Earth. Each light was a ship carrying human crews and weapons. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. "Sophie, contact the alien ships. Tell them we're ready to begin the demonstration." The translation device hummed as Sophie sent the message. The response came quickly from Commander Kethva. "Admiral Morrison, we are surprised by the number of vessels we observe. Are all of these ships part of your military demonstration?" Jake smiled. "Yes, Commander. These are our active duty forces. Would you like to come closer to get a better look?" There was a long pause before the alien replied. "We will move closer. For observation, please proceed with your demonstration." The three Xantharian ships moved slowly toward Earth. As they got closer, the aliens could see the true size of the human fleet. Commander Kethva, Scout Leader Vextar, and Sub-Commander Zethik stared at their viewing screens in complete shock. "By the 7 moons of Xanthar," Vextar whispered. "How many ships do they have?" Zethik was counting frantically. "Commander, I count over 2,000 vessels. This is impossible. New species don't have fleets this large." Kethva felt sick to his stomach. "Keep counting. We need exact numbers for our report." Meanwhile, Colonel Sarah Martinez was coordinating the European Space Defense Corps formation. Her ships were arranged in perfect military formation near the moon. 180 vessels moved together like they were dancing in space. "All European units, maintain formation," she commanded. "Show our alien visitors what discipline looks like." General Rick Davis was organizing the Pacific Fleet on the other side of Earth. His 220 ships were arranged in attack formation, their weapons powered but not aimed at the aliens. "Pacific Fleet looking good," he reported to General Lisa Carter on Earth. "Our people are performing perfectly." Captain Tony Lee had arranged the Asian Defense Consortium ships in a defensive screen around Earth's industrial satellites. His 190 ships protected the space, factories, and orbital construction yards. "Asian forces in position," he reported. "All systems ready for inspection." Major Beth Cooper positioned the African Union ships near Earth's communication satellites. Her 150 vessels guarded the equipment that allowed Earth to talk to all its colonies and bases. On Mars, Captain Alex Turner was preparing for the ground forces demonstration. 15,000 Marines in full combat gear stood in perfect formation on the red Martian soil. Their weapons gleamed in the weak sunlight, and their uniforms were spotless. "Mars Base Alpha ready for inspection," Alex reported. "Colonial Marines, standing by." Major Kate Foster was coordinating with all the other colonial bases. Europa Base had 5,000 troops ready. Titan Industrial Complex had 8,000 security personnel in formation. The asteroid mining stations had organized 20,000 miners with military training. "All colonial forces ready," Kate reported to General Lisa. "Total ground personnel, 75,000 troops across 12 different locations." But the real shock was still coming. Admiral Pete Harrison had returned from the outer system with his deep space patrol. 47 ships that had been exploring beyond Pluto were now arranged in formation near Saturn. "Outer system patrol in position," Pete reported. "We're ready to show the aliens what human exploration looks like." Commander Nina Walsh had organized something even more impressive in the asteroid belt. The mining security forces had assembled in the largest military formation ever seen in that region. 150 armed ships floated among the asteroids, their weapons ready to defend the mining operations. "Belt patrol reporting," Nina said. "All mining security forces ready for demonstration. We're showing the aliens how we protect our industrial operations." The aliens watched all of this with growing horror. Sub-Commander Zethik had stopped counting ships. There were too many to track. "Commander," he said in a shaking voice, "they have military forces spread across their entire solar system, from their homeworld to the very edge of their star system. This is not a planetary defense force, this is a solar system defense force." Scout Leader Vextar was studying the human formations. "Look at their organization, Commander. These ships are not randomly gathered. They're arranged in perfect military formations. These humans know how to fight as a unified force across impossible distances." Commander Kethva was trying to write his report, but he did not know what to say. "How do we explain this to the Galactic Council? Most species have trouble organizing a few dozen ships. These humans have organized thousands of vessels across multiple planets and moons. Admiral Jake Morrison decided it was time to begin the formal demonstration. All units, this is Admiral Morrison. Begin the display for our alien visitors. What happened next made the Xantharian scouts question everything they thought they knew about military power. The human ships began to move in perfect coordination. Formations that stretched across millions of kilometers of space moved like single organisms. The Earth Defense Fleet moved first. 900 ships arranged themselves in a massive defensive sphere around the planet. Every ship was in exactly the right position. The aliens had never seen coordination on such a scale. Then the colonial forces began their demonstration. Ships from Mars, Europa, Titan, and the asteroid belt moved in formations that spanned the entire inner solar system. 300 ships operated as if they were controlled by a single mind. The mining security forces showed how they defended the asteroid belt. 150 ships moved among the rocks and mining stations, demonstrating tactics that had been developed through years of fighting pirates and raiders. Finally, the Outer System Patrol demonstrated their long-range capabilities. 47 ships moved in formation near Saturn, showing how humans could project military power even to the edge of their solar system. Admiral, Captain Ben Rodriguez said, all formations are in position. Total ship count is now 2,137 vessels. Jake nodded with satisfaction. What about ground forces? Lieutenant Sophie Barnes checked her reports. Ground forces total 318,000 personnel across 15 different locations. All units ready for inspection. Aliens heard this conversation through their monitoring equipment. Commander Kethva felt like he was going to faint. 300,000 troops, he whispered. Spread across 15 locations? How is this possible? Zethik looked at his instruments in disbelief. Commander, they're not even trying to impress us. They're treating this like a normal military exercise. This is routine for them. Vextar was the first to understand the true horror of their situation. Commander, what if this is not their full military? What if this is just what they can organize quickly? Kethva did not want to think about that possibility. Contact the Liberty's Edge. Ask them if this represents their complete military force. Sophie, Barnes received the alien message and passed it to Admiral Morrison. Jake laughed when he heard the question. Tell them this represents about 60% of our active duty forces, Jake said. Many of our ships are on exploration missions or deep patrol duties. And of course, this doesn't include our reserve forces or planetary militias. When the aliens heard this answer, complete silence filled their ship. They had been looking at the largest military demonstration in galactic history, and the humans considered it incomplete. Commander, Zethik said quietly, we need to contact the Galactic Council immediately. This changes everything. Kethva nodded slowly. Draft an emergency message. Priority 1 classification. Tell them we have encountered a species with military capabilities beyond anything in Council records. What should we tell them about the size of their forces? Kethva looked at the display showing thousands of human ships arranged in perfect formations across an entire solar system. Tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity appears to possess the largest organized military force in known galactic history. The demonstration was only beginning, but the aliens already knew they had discovered something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The demonstration was far from over. Admiral Jake Morrison had decided to show the aliens something special. He wanted them to see the specialized units that made human military forces truly unique in the galaxy. Captain Ben Rodriguez, Jake said, contact the Solar Rangers. Tell Captain Dave Henderson to bring his people in from Pluto base. Ben looked surprised. Sir, the Solar Rangers are our most elite unit. Are you sure we should reveal them to the aliens? The aliens asked to see our military capabilities, Jake replied. The Solar Rangers are part of our military. They should see what human soldiers can do in the most extreme conditions. Far out near Pluto, Captain Dave Henderson received the message. He commanded the Solar Rangers, a special forces unit that operated in the coldest, darkest parts of the solar system. His people were trained to fight in conditions that would kill most humans in minutes. All Rangers, this is Captain Henderson. He spoke into his communication system. We have new orders. Form up for transit to Earth orbit. We're going to show some aliens what humans can do. The Solar Rangers had 12 ships, but these were not ordinary military vessels. They were built for extreme conditions and long-range missions. Each ship carried soldiers who had trained for years to survive and fight in the most dangerous places humans had ever reached. Ranger units forming up, reported Lieutenant Kelly Martinez, Dave's second-in-command. All personnel ready for demonstration. How long to reach Earth? Dave asked. 8 hours at maximum speed, sir. Meanwhile, Major Amy Collins was preparing another surprise for the aliens. She commanded the Deep Space Exploration Fleet, a group of ships that were officially listed as research vessels. But Amy's people were much more than researchers. Exploration command to all units. Amy broadcast to her ships, scattered throughout the outer solar system. Return to Earth for military demonstration. Show our alien guests what human exploration really means. Amy's fleet consisted of 35 ships that had been mapping and exploring beyond the known planets. They were heavily armed because space exploration was dangerous work. Pirates, unknown hazards, and hostile environments made weapons necessary for survival. Major Collins, came a voice from one of her ship commanders. Should we bring our full weapons loadout for the demonstration? Bring everything, Amy replied. These aliens want to see human military capability. Let's show them how we explore and defend ourselves in unknown space. On Earth, Colonel Matt Brooks was coordinating something even more impressive. He commanded the mining consortium's security fleet, and he had an idea that would shock the aliens completely. All mining security chiefs, Matt broadcast to the asteroid belt, bring your industrial defense units to Earth orbit. It's time to show the galaxy how we protect human industry. The mining security fleet was unlike any military force the aliens had ever seen. These were not purpose-built warships. They were converted mining vessels, cargo haulers, and industrial ships that had been armed and armored for protection against pirates and raiders. But what made them terrifying was their size and power. Mining ships were built to move asteroids and process millions of tons of rock. When those same ships were equipped with military weapons, they became mobile fortresses that could destroy entire fleets. Security Chief Paul Davis reporting, came a voice from the asteroid belt. Asteroid Mining Corporation fleet moving to Earth. We have 45 heavy industrial vessels with full military conversion packages. Belt Security Command here, reported another voice. Independent Miners Security Cooperative contributing 32 armed vessels. These ships have been fighting pirates for 10 years. They know how to handle trouble. Colonel Matt smiled as the reports came in. The mining security forces were contributing over 120 additional ships, but these were not ordinary military vessels. They were industrial giants with enough firepower to level cities. The alien scouts watched in growing terror as more human ships continued to arrive at Earth. Subcommander Zethick had given up trying to count vessels. There were simply too many. Commander Kethva, he said in a voice filled with fear, more ships are arriving from the outer system. These new vessels are enormous. Some of them are larger than our entire scout fleet combined. Commander Kethva looked at the display screen, showing the newest arrivals. The mining ships were indeed massive, but they moved with military precision and bristled with weapons. What kind of species arms their industrial vessels? He asked in amazement. Scout leader Vextar was studying the human formations. Commander, I'm beginning to understand something terrible. These humans don't just have a military. They've militarized their entire civilization. Every ship, every station, every operation has military capabilities. The truth was even worse than Vextar realized. Captain Tony Lee was now coordinating with the civilian shipping companies. Many cargo vessels and passenger ships carried weapons for protection during long journeys between planets. Civilian Defense Coordinator reporting, Tony announced. Commercial, shipping fleet requests permission to participate in demonstration. We have over 300 civilian vessels with defensive armaments. Admiral Jake Morrison paused. He had not considered including civilian ships in the demonstration, but they were technically part of Earth's overall defense capability. How many civilian vessels total? Jake asked. Sir, If we include all commercial ships, passenger liners, research vessels, and private craft with military-grade equipment, we're looking at approximately 800 additional vessels. The aliens intercepted this conversation, and Commander Kethva felt his legs go weak. 800 more ships? How many vessels did these humans possess? Commander, Zethik said quietly, if we include their civilian vessels, they will have over 3,000 ships in this demonstration. 3,000 ships, Kethva repeated in a whisper. The entire Xantharian Imperial fleet has only 500 vessels, and we considered ourselves a major military power. But the demonstration was still growing. General Lisa Carter had decided to contact the reserve forces and planetary militias. These were part-time soldiers and weekend warriors, but they represented millions of additional personnel. Reserve Command reporting, came a new voice on the communication channels. Planetary militia units requesting permission to participate. We can mobilize 2.7 million personnel within 72 hours. Admiral Jake Morrison stopped, breathing for a moment. Did you say 2.7 million? Yes, sir. That includes planetary defense militias, reserve military units, veteran organizations, and civilian emergency response teams with military training. Every human colony and settlement has local defense forces. The aliens heard this exchange, and Commander Kethva actually fell into his command chair. Nearly 3 million additional military personnel? How many humans were there? Commander, Vextar said in a shaking voice. We need to send an emergency message to the Galactic Council immediately. This species represents a threat to the balance of power in the entire galaxy. What should we tell them? Kethik asked. Tell them that humanity possesses military forces larger than the combined fleets of the 5 major galactic powers. Tell them that every human settlement, every human operation, every human ship has military capabilities. Tell them that we have discovered a species that has accidentally created the most powerful military force in known galactic history. On the Liberty's edge, Admiral Jake Morrison was reviewing the final numbers with his staff. Captain Ben Rodriguez looked pale as he read the reports. Admiral, final count for the demonstration, 3,214 vessels. Active duty personnel, 423,000. Reserve and militia forces available, 2.9 million. Ground-based defensive installations, over 10,000 facilities across 47 different locations. Jake nodded calmly. And this represents what percentage of our total capability? Ben checked his notes. Approximately 75% of our active forces. Sir, we still have deep exploration missions, long-range patrols, and classified operations that couldn't return in time for the demonstration. Lieutenant Sophie Barnes looked up from her communication station. Admiral, the aliens are requesting permission to contact their home government. They say this is an emergency situation that requires immediate attention from their highest authorities. Jake looked confused. Emergency? We're just showing them our military as they requested. Why would this be an emergency? What Jake and the other humans didn't understand was that they had just revealed themselves to be the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. The aliens had expected to catalog a small planetary defense force. Instead, they had discovered that humanity had accidentally built a military machine capable of conquering half the galaxy. The demonstration continued, but the aliens were no longer taking notes on human military capability. They were trying to figure out how to report to the Galactic Council that the balance of power in the galaxy had just changed forever. The final phase of the demonstration was about to begin. Admiral Jake Morrison looked at the massive fleet assembled around Earth and felt proud of what humanity had accomplished. Over 3,000 ships floated in perfect formation, representing the largest gathering of human military forces in history. All units, this is Admiral Morrison, he broadcast to the entire fleet. Begin final demonstration sequence. Show our alien visitors what coordinated human military action looks like. What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for generations. The entire human fleet began to move as one giant organism. Ships from Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, and the outer planets moved in perfect harmony across millions of kilometers of space. Commander Kethva watched from his scout ship as the human fleet performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Coordination across such vast distances required communication systems and training that the Galactic Council had never seen before. Sub-Commander Zethic, Kethva said weakly, "Are you recording all of this?" "Yes, Commander," Zethic replied, his voice shaking. "But I don't think anyone will believe our report." The humans were showing off different types of military formations. The Earth Defense Fleet demonstrated how they could protect their home planet from attacks coming from any direction. The colonial forces showed how they could support each other across multiple star system locations. The mining security forces demonstrated how they could defend industrial operations while continuing to work. But the most impressive part was how all these different groups worked together. Earth forces, colonial marines, mining security, exploration, fleets and civilian vessels all moved together like parts of a giant machine. Scout leader Vextar was trying to understand how this was possible. "Commander, how do they coordinate so many ships across such distances? The communication delays alone should make this impossible." "I don't know," Kethva admitted. "Our most advanced fleets have trouble coordinating 100 ships in the same area. These humans are coordinating thousands of ships across their entire solar system." On the Liberty's Edge, Captain Ben Rodriguez was explaining the demonstration to Admiral Morrison. "Sir, all fleet elements are performing standard defensive and offensive maneuvers. The aliens seem very interested in our coordination capabilities." Of course they are," Jake replied. "Most species probably don't have forces spread across multiple planets. This must be new for them." Lieutenant Sophie Barnes looked up from her communication station. "Admiral, the aliens are asking if we could demonstrate our rapid response capabilities. They want to know how quickly we can move forces from one location to another." Jake thought for a moment. "Show them the Mars response drill. Have Captain Alex Turner's people demonstrate how quickly they can deploy from Mars to Earth." On Mars Base Alpha, Captain Alex Turner received the order and smiled. The rapid response drill was something his Marines practiced every month. They could move 15,000 troops from Mars to Earth orbit in less than 6 hours. "All Marine units prepare for rapid deployment drill," Alex announced. "Full combat gear, maximum speed transit to Earth." The aliens watched in amazement as dozens of transport ships launched from Mars and began moving toward Earth at incredible speed. But this was just the beginning of what they would see. Admiral Pete Harrison decided to show the aliens something even more impressive. His outer system patrol could move from the edge of the solar system to Earth in less than a day when needed. "Outer system command to all units," Pete broadcast. "Demonstrate emergency response protocol. Show transit time from Saturn to Earth orbit." 47 ships near Saturn immediately changed course and began accelerating toward Earth. Their advanced engines allowed them to cover the distance in 18 hours, something the aliens considered impossible. "Commander," Zethic said in terror, "they can move major military forces across their entire solar system in less than a day. How do they have such advanced transportation?" Kethva didn't answer. He was too busy trying to write a report that his superiors would believe. How could he explain that humans had solved problems that had challenged the Galactic Council for thousands of years? But the humans were not finished. General Lisa Carter had one more surprise for the aliens. She had decided to show them the Earth Orbital Defense Grid, a network of defensive satellites and weapons platforms that surrounded the planet. "Orbital Defense Command, activate all platforms for demonstration," Lisa ordered. Suddenly, thousands of new contacts appeared on the alien sensors. Defensive satellites, weapons platforms, shield generators, and sensor arrays all came online at once. The aliens realized that Earth was protected by a defensive network more advanced than anything they had ever seen. "By the ancient stars," Vextar whispered, "their planet is surrounded by automated defenses. There must be 10,000 defensive platforms." 12,847 platforms, Zethic corrected, reading his sensors, plus mobile defense units, shield generators, and sensor networks. "Commander, this single planet has more defensive capability than most entire star systems." Admiral Jake Morrison was pleased with how the demonstration was going. "Sophie, ask the aliens if they have any questions about our military capabilities." The translation device carried his words to the alien ships. Commander Kethva took a long time to respond. "Admiral Morrison," the alien voice finally said, "we are very impressed by your military demonstration. We have one question. Is this the full extent of your military forces?" Jake laughed. "Oh no, Commander, this is just what we could organize on short notice. Our full military capability would include our deep space exploration fleets, our long-range patrol units, our classified defense projects, and of course our reserve forces and militia units." "How many additional ships would that represent?" Keteva asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Captain Ben Rodriguez checked his calculations. "Sir, if we included everything, we're probably looking at close to 5,000 active military vessels plus another 3,000 civilian ships with military capabilities. Total personnel would be around 8 million active duty and reserve forces." The alien ship went completely silent. 8,000 ships? 8 million personnel? The entire Galactic Council's combined military forces totaled maybe 6,000 ships and 10 million personnel across dozens of different species. "Commander," Zethik said quietly, "this single species has a military force nearly equal to the entire Galactic Council, and they developed all of this in just 200 years of spaceflight." Keteva finally understood the true situation. Humanity had not just qualified for Galactic Council membership, they had accidentally revealed themselves to be the most powerful single military force in the known galaxy. "Draft an emergency message to the Council," Keteva ordered. "Maximum priority. Tell them we recommend immediate diplomatic contact at the highest levels. Tell them that humanity should be granted full Council membership with all privileges and honors." "What should we say about their military strength?" Vextar asked. "Tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity possesses military capabilities that exceed those of any known species. Tell them that the humans seem completely unaware of how powerful they are." On the Liberty's edge, Admiral Morrison was wrapping up the demonstration. "All units, excellent work today. Return to normal duties. Thank you for showing our alien visitors what human military forces can accomplish." The massive fleet began to disperse. Ships returned to their bases on Mars in the asteroid belt and throughout the outer system. In a few hours, the space around Earth would return to normal, with only the regular patrol ships remaining. "Admiral," Lieutenant Sophie Barnes said, "the aliens are requesting permission to leave our solar system. They say they need to report to their government immediately." "Of course," Jake replied. "Tell them they're welcome to return any time. And let them know that if the Galactic Council wants to meet with Earth's leaders, we would be honored to discuss membership." The 3 alien ships began moving away from Earth. As they prepared to leave the solar system, Commander Keteva took one last look at the human homeworld. "Sub-Commander," he said to Zethik, "in your report, make sure to note that the humans were polite and cooperative throughout this entire demonstration. They showed us their military capabilities without any threats or hostile actions." "Yes, sir. Should I also note that they seem to consider this level of military force completely normal?" "Yes. That might be the most terrifying thing of all. They have no idea how powerful they are." The alien ships disappeared into hyperspace carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council was about to learn that a new superpower had emerged, and it was populated by a species that thought massive military fleets and planetary defense networks were just common sense. Admiral Jake Morrison returned to his normal duties, completely unaware that he had just demonstrated military capabilities that would make humanity the most feared and respected species in the galaxy. He was already planning improvements to the fleet because he thought the demonstration had been a bit small and unimpressive. The galaxy would never be the same.